This new tool from Milwaukee gives you more options in one tool, allows you to skip buying a few other tools, saves you money, which is very, very rare in the case of Milwaukee tools. You're gonna wanna see this. This is the new Milwaukee M12 Fuel Insider. This is an extended reach box ratchet. So it comes down here and you have a box end ratchet. Before you think this is gimmicky, there is a ton to this that is absolutely awesome. If you get this in a kit, it's going to be model number 3050-21. It's going to come with the new high output CP 2.5 battery. Pretty slick, 0 to 350 RPM, so it's going to be a little faster than what you might be used to with some of the other extended reach. It does have a different way of going forward and reverse. It has to, because the other ones would have it inside this on the drive. This is pretty sweet. If you're familiar with the M12 ratchets, this is exactly the same thing you're going to get. Maybe a little skinnier up front. This is a 3/8 inch model. You can see it's just a touch longer. If we compare it to a 1/4 inch model, again, a little bit longer. We're gonna go through all the specs. Milwaukee says that you have 3/4 of an inch less of a socket that's up front. So you have more area to remove threads if you have that much thread engagement, or to get this into tighter places. We're gonna test that out, but really have to show you what excites me about this tool. And it's not exactly the point that I can just get a little less intrusion from sockets. When you buy the M12 Fuel Insider, you're going to get this group of sockets that's going to go from 8mm up to 21, skipping the 20. Basically here, this is a shallow well socket on a 9/16 inch hex. Now that 9/16 goes inside this on either side, doesn't matter. You could put it on the side with the direction changer, or you could put it on the side without. There is some detents on the inside, so they stick pretty good. They're not just going to fall out when you attach to something, and that gives you the lower profile. Taking a look at the profiles here, we have the 1/4 inch extended reach, 3/8 inch extended reach, and then we have the extended reach Insider. You can see there's a significant difference across the board here. Now, where it kind of gets a little weird is if I put the 3/8 drive in here, we are doing much better, sort of, with the 3/8 on the Insider, not a ton. But if we put the 1/4 inch in, we are actually not doing well at all compared to the extended reach 1/4. The profile is lower. So if that's just simply what you're going to use it for, is throwing these in, you're not getting a huge benefit. Now where you are getting that benefit from is if you were to pop 14mm sockets on here and then you use the 14mm Insider. Now all of a sudden, compared to the 3/8, we have a significant difference in height, which gives us a better profile of getting in there. And if we pull over the 1/4 inch model, we are still better than that. That's where Milwaukee is talking. So if you need that bit of difference, this Insider is going to be excellent for you. I go back to, the Insider is great because I have that ability to have that difference, and it gives me options to throw in not only the 3/8 and the 1/4, but also a hex drive. So we can now use this and switch between 3/8, 1/4, and hex in no problems. Even though we get better reach, we just have more options with one tool. So I can drop this 1/4 inch hex in here and then pick up a small, normal impact driver or hex drive, throw it in here, and I have a very low profile for certain jobs. And that gets me going, because there's a lot of times on car interiors or different places where you're trying to get into tight places, and even if you have some of the stubby stuff, which would be very nice in certain circumstances, I guess, you are still very slightly ahead of the game with the Insider. I like that because now I can just stock up on all these impact sockets that I want, that I already basically have from different items, move it over to this, and instead of stocking a ton of stubbies, that can be quite expensive if you really want to dive into them, and a little bit harder to find, I can use them here. That to me is what I think is awesome. With that, 350 RPM is going to help getting these small fasteners out fast. 60 foot-pounds of fastening is going to help you strip them out when you go in. So you're going to have to be careful with this as you're putting in small fasteners and using this style of stuff. And having those options eliminates the discussion of 1/4 inch or 3/8. If you buy the insider, you got both. Add into that, you also have hex. Now they designed this so that you can use both sides, obviously. And they did that also with the LED light that is on both sides. That helps out tremendously when you're in here, because not only is it lighting up below, but also a little bit above. So it gives you an idea of where everything is at and gives you more light inside the engine compartment, which I think is absolutely amazing. So if we were to dive in here, which is a very tight bolt, we have a little bit of clearance in the back to get this out. Maybe not enough, but we could definitely loosen it up and get to the point where we wouldn't have a lot to do by hand. Now on a converse situation, if we were to take this and try to get it on this bolt that's up top, it's going to be awful tight in this position because we don't have a lot of room or profile away from the nut. We'd have to move around and get into a position that would probably benefit us a little bit better. Then we can remove this with some speed. Life's pretty good and no big deal. Again, this is small, so with that being small, we also want to make sure that when we're putting this back in, we're very careful and not just burning this thing right in. And that's about all that that guy needs, which is only about 1/4 throttle going in before you start to feel it. So you can over tighten things with these, and that goes across the board no matter what you're in, especially if you get on hose clamps. I highly recommend that you really watch what you're doing when you're on hose clamps, because you can really put the juice to them and you shouldn't. But overall, if you're looking at this, this thing is amazing with what it has. Basically, you can stop buying the 1/4 inch or 3/8 if you're struggling between the two, or if you have one, you wish you had another, get the insider. You'll have everything you need, a little bit more speed, maybe less torque. You don't need the torque on 90% of what you're using this stuff for anyway, and if you do, you're gonna pull out something else. So in my opinion, all the cons that I've heard about this guy are basically that they don't have enough information to really get what the tool's about. Yes, it's lower profile, works on either side. You have to use their sockets to get that lower profile. But what you're gaining in doing so is the ability to go from 3/8 inch drive to 1/4 inch drive, which you could do before, but not as simply. You just drop it in and pull it out. It wasn't as easy, and there were parts that you had to kind of keep close together. In this case, very little, and it comes with a case. Also, you can throw in the hex drive, which to me is fairly exciting because now I can keep all my hex stuff in a little case instead of having all this stuff out, and I basically get stubby stuff, which to me is pretty important. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening with this insider, and if you get someone who's like, well, that's gimmicky, or well, this isn't exactly what I think, or I don't want to use the Milwaukee sockets, don't listen to that, because you don't have to, and there's a lot of ways you can use it. So to me, the comments when we go over these extended reach ratchets, which they are awesome, love them. If you have the assembly process that you're going through, this is the first thing I pull out. It just makes assembly great. You have to watch the torque that they'll apply, but it works great. I love it. People always said, should I get the 1/4? Should I get the 3/8? Should I get the half? Where should I go? To me, the half is a little big for the power that you get. So I always go between the 3/8 and 1/4. And then I look at it and go, well, I would buy the 1/4 if you can get by with it, because it's so much smaller in head size. And when we compare the 1/4 to this insider, they're about the same. And now you get 3/8 stuff in the same head size. I think that's awesome. Leave your comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. As always, I appreciate your time. Give us a like in this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks again. Have a great day.